That was it. I don't know what else we could do.
Call this meeting to order, the Board of Franklin County Commissioners, Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. Roll call.
Commissioner Sotomayor?
Yeah.
Commissioner Harris?
Present.
Chair Dunn?
Present.
Vice Chair Dickinson?
President?
Commissioner Waymire?
Present. Okay, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible.
Let's continue on with the meeting. Any correspondence, Derek?
No, sir.
Public comment?
Have one, yes.
Citizen desiring to speak on an item not on the agenda may do so at this time. Discussion is limited to 5 minutes, and the commission will not take any action or discuss items at this time. Discussion should be limited to matters of county commission business, and public comment is not permitted in regard to personnel matters or on pending legal matters. Items introduced under public comment may become agenda items at a later date.
Norman Woogie?
Morning, Norm.
Morning. Norman Woogie, 3790 Pony Road. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So. I see much of the time that there's not a full body of 5 commissioners. There's probably a reason for not being on the job full time. I take it as an important job, at least to be physically present. It's time that one person in the commission or not file if they have more important things in their lives on the agenda, much of the time. There are 3 commissioner seats open coming up at election, with the filing deadline, I believe, is June 1st, 2022. Not to say that these aren't good people, but to say they have too much and more important things in their lives than being a county commissioner. The LOB factor is prevalent of not getting the job done. One of my concerns is the development of our community. The South Park development is a money pit. It's following the same path as the North Park of Ottawa. There's still places open up there. In contrast, Overland Park and the Inner Mogul, which you guys have seen, and particularly 169 at 199th Street, has five housing developments being on, and that's equivalent to over 100 new houses that are over $500,000 a piece, and land selling for $200,000 an acre, according to my information source. As we, as forward-thinking individuals, need personnel changes, both elected and hired people. Dreams are good, but some people need to be awake and dream while they are awake. Thank you.
Thank you, Norman. Consent agenda, and no claim vouchers, or
Just minutes.
consider approved Franklin County Commission meeting minutes for April 6th. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second. Yeah.
Commissioner Sotomayor?
Yeah.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Abstain.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Chair Dunn?
Yes. First item up for business is, Kenneth, coming up. Rezoning request, go ahead.
Good morning. This request is rezoning application number 2202-1944 for Hughes. It is to rezone approximately 20.09 acres from the A1 district to the A2 agriculture or transitional agriculture district. The applicants currently own 60 acres as one tract, and what they're proposing to do is split off the sort of south 20 acres of that property at the intersection of Texas Road and Shawnee Road in order to develop a house site on the property. I believe this is directly adjacent to another family member that had already split off 20 acres back, I think, like in the 90s on an adjacent tract. The Planning Commission did make a recommendation of approval of this request to rezone, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions about this? Affirmative, most would read, I make a motion to approve rezoning application number 2202-1944 Hughes to rezone approximately 20.09 acres from an A1 agriculture district to an A2 transitional agriculture district and to amend the official county zoning map accordingly.
Motion approved.
Second. Yeah.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Chair Dunn.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks, Katie. You gonna do this, Derek?
Yeah, for
We're
sure.
approving the purchase of approximately 62 acres of land located directly north of the existing Franklin County landfill at a cost of $5,000 per acre.
Yeah, so David's cover sheet speaks for itself. We were approached by a local realtor with an opportunity to purchase the land directly north of the landfill. The timing of this is good in that, as you know, we've recently engaged SCS engineers to do a landfill study, and we've chosen an option that will prolong the life of the landfill, but we don't think that they are so far into that analysis that we couldn't, if the board chose to purchase this land, that we couldn't backtrack just a little bit and then reassess. Do we want to expand the footprint and bring that height back down, or what other options do we have? Additionally, this land could provide fill material as well. And so I've called around a little bit. This seems to be a reasonable price. And that's really all the info that we have. I would be willing to answer any questions you have about this. The contract itself, which is attached, is literally a boilerplate real estate contract. There's nothing particularly unique about it. I think staff certainly would recommend that we go ahead and make this purchase because you don't get these opportunities very often. It eliminates a neighbor on the north side, and it just gives us options to ensure that that landfill remains viable for a really long time.
Might explain where the funds would come from if we decide to purchase.
Yeah, so that's a great question, Don. We would intend to pay for this with solid waste funds, so we would not be using property tax dollars. These are fees that we generate out at the transfer station that we could use for this. I've asked Janet to look up the balance. Where are we at on that?
In our special caps account, which is our capital account where we make purchases for solid waste, is $1.627 million.
And speaking with David, he certainly would support using a portion of that to make this purchase.
Yeah, I know I was here when we purchased on the other side of the road.
Yeah.
But that was the idea, to have more expansion, but this makes more sense.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to jump the road. We can go ahead and use our existing buildings and facilities and scale house and everything, and then that eliminate neighbors. I mean, you want neighbors, but that eliminate people we have to worry about taking care of what we're doing, because they take us all the way to 35 on that side, and almost, take us quite a way on the other side. So sounds like a good deal to me.
Is there a river in the back? Or is it just trees?
The creek runs through there. The property line's roughly the creek.
The creek, I didn't know how close you could get to a creek or something like that with that, as far as expansion.
The flood map is slightly different green there. That's what a floodplain is. The dark green's not in the flood map.
That land's kind of up on a bluff on the east side over Toy Creek. It runs on the east side there. It's kind of up on a bluff.
And any of you could jump in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the part of the land that would be most viable for an expansion, and it makes sense, is just the southern portion of that piece of property. So what is already literally directly adjacent to our landfill.
My only question would be the price, but, I mean, literally, no matter what you pay for it, this is gonna save people, taxpayers down the road, because to close something out, I mean, this could literally save millions of dollars, seriously.
Yeah, it could.
I mean,
and-
by being able to just, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, it's an old adage, but they're not making more land. And so I think the price over the course of time would only go up anyway. Yeah,
Well, this price per acre is pretty reasonable for Franklin County now, so it's,
yeah.
looks like a real good opportunity to kind of be a buffer there on the north side of our landfill going in the future, so I think it's a good idea. Any other questions or about this? Positive, motion B, I make a motion to approve the purchase of approximately 62 acres of land located directly north of the existing Franklin County landfill at the cost of $5,000 per acre.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Janet?
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Chair Dunn.
Yes. Okay, Casey, want to come up and talk about TGG sponsorship applications?
Yes. So we took applications for about a month, from February to March, and then got this all organized and brought it to you. Transient guest tax dollars we use to support and promote activities and events that drive traffic to all communities in Franklin County. When I started, originally, they wanted to give money to get new events off the ground, and we've kind of transitioned that to just really any event that drives traffic to the communities in Franklin County. So keep that in mind. So I'm just going to go down each application. They're in order of the event date. And I will tell you that one event has already taken place, but I told the organizer, the applicant, that we would still consider their request, and if approved, still allocate the money that they requested. So that is the Sam Smith Memorial Competition shoot, and that happened last weekend. The Sheriff's Foundation puts on that event. They applied for $5,000, and I recommend approving that request.
500.
You said.
Sorry,
Yeah.
500, not 5,000. Do you want to discuss each one as we go?
How would you like to do this? The overview speaks for itself.
We got the information in front of us.
We don't need to necessarily go through everyone. Happy to discuss some of the bigger ones if you would like, or we can do this any way you want, but you've got the info right there.
I think we can pick and choose the ones we want to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll start it off. Just the ones like Richmond Fair and Lane Fair where we already allocated some funds. This is on top of that?
So in years past, and this is kind of a transition year, in years past, they have applied for TGT funds, and they also receive a small portion of community partner funds that still comes out of TGT funds. So we are working to, now they've applied only for community partner funds, but that's for 2023 budget. So we still have to do 2022 TGT funds to get them through this year. And then next year, they won't apply for sponsorship funds. It'll all come from community partners.
Okay, that explains that.
Yes. So this isn't a double request for them. This is just what they've traditionally done, and this will be the last year you see it this way.
Yeah, okay.
So the memory lane light display, does any of that go towards charitable? No?
No, it's a
One
for,
of the other events out there does.
Yes.
This one's just for profit, and
yes.
I would pull that one. In my thinking, it's purely for profit. It's not an event where somebody would come stay the night to go to it, so it's not generating revenue. You know, if it was a revenue generating deal, I could see giving some back to help sustain it. Not sure why, I guess a for-profit business, we would, put money into it. Any different than the apple orchard, or, I mean, there's a handful, any business, I guess, the logic would be the same.
How do the rest of you feel about the light display?
Like in Topeka, they do, there's several charities, puts the big one on around the lake, and it raises money. I mean, that would make a lot of sense, really a big draw, but
Well, is it the same organization that does the Old Mary's chili cook-off?
They do, yes.
And that one
And
is-
that one is a
And we
fundraiser.
give to that one, but that one is a fundraiser, yeah.
Yeah,
At least most of it is.
yes.
didn't mean to cut you off, Derek, sorry.
Well, no, I think it's a fair question. And just need more input from the board on how you want us to approach it. I mean, we can certainly reach out to the organizer, and if it's what the board desires, explain that because none of this is donated to charity, we have some reluctance, but I just need we need more guidance on that one.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it all on that bit. Is it on the, tell me which one too?
It's the last one.
The memory lane.
Very last one, okay.
light display.
We're not talking about the one up above it?
No.
No, okay.
Yeah,
I understand totally what you're saying.
yeah. So is there
I
agreement?
know the one up above, it is donate, most of that does
To
come
the
to charity.
Cancer Society.
So what has been proposed is that because the light display is not giving anything to charity, that it appears to be just a for-profit event, that we pull that from the list.
Fine with me. The one.
Yeah, just that one.
I will point out that we had a couple of new requests that we haven't received before. The Pomona Farmers Market, and they're looking for help with advertising it, which I think is a good use of TGT funds, so I would recommend that one.
I'm gonna pause you
Sorry.
there, Casey. I want to make sure that I've got Colt and Dawn that both, I think, are fine with nixing the light display.
I'm fine.
Okay, so I've got three of you so we'll remove the memory lane light display. I think another one that bears mentioning is the Bike Across Kansas. So the chamber requested funds, $1,000 to assist in that event. We believe that it is a good event. It's certainly going to bring people to the community. That being said, and I feel like we say this every year, we don't feel like there's a need to run that money through the chamber. We can work with the chamber and reach out to the event organizers directly, and we can do $1,000. We're recommending that amount. We're just recommending that Casey work directly with the event to do that as opposed to running it through the chamber. Does anyone have any issues with that?
Like that idea a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's more appropriate for that.
Okay.
I'm a little concerned about Pomona's Farmers Market.
Yeah.
And I could see Pomona Days being supportive, but this is kind of a private enterprise activity.
It is also, yes, another those that come and are vendors, they're doing it for a profit, so.
I think that one should be pulled and memory lane pulled and just and directly with the events rather than go through the chamber on
Like,
the appropriate ones.
Okay, so we've got memory lane, we're gonna strike. Are there at least 3 of you that agree? And it is the same logic certainly on the farmer's market in Pomona to go ahead and pull that as well.
I'm not sure I agree about the chamber. I mean, the Bank of Bike Across America, they've already got their, all their money, from the riders and all that. What the chamber's trying to do is provide things for them to do while they're in town. So I'm not sure what taking it from the chamber and giving it Bike Across America, you're basically not you're not fulfilling the request at all.
Well,
By who was
we wouldn't
requested
be
it.
funding it to Bike Across Kansas. It would be, like the chamber asked, they said that our donation would either go towards the cost of a band or participant towels is something that they want to order, like some sort of commemorative something to give to the bikers. And my thought would be that we just purchase that item and donate it towards the gift that goes to the participants.
So not unlike we did with like area agency on aging, we're not giving the money to this person so they can give it the money to that. We're à la carte picking one item, one event, one need, and just doing it directly. That way we're accountable for the money and it stays in our hands and it's
And
clear money use done.
It's far more transparent to do it that way. We
Transparent.
can ensure that every dollar gets
I would
spent for
also
the stated purpose.
Mention that, like, for the tractor show, for example, like, the visitor center does provide, like, the bags, the participant bags. We've done it for the car show in the past. That's also something that we could provide, is the bags that all their participant stuff goes into.
And I want to try to keep us organized. With regard to Bike Across Kansas, it was my understanding there is a committee that Casey sits on to help organize and plan for this event. That committee's idea was towels. Casey has reached out to Bike Across Kansas. They are okay with towels. It is our proposal that we directly buy the towels with the $1,000. So the committee is literally getting what they asked for and the amount that they asked for. This is just our way of ensuring that we have a direct receipt for the towels that the committee has asked to purchase. Is that fair?
I just think, so I'm a biker and I get a towel and I have Franklin County and next week when I'm going through my stuff, I'm like, okay, that's nice.
That is
What
something
am I gonna
that
do
we
with it?
had a discussion about.
We don't disagree with that.
But I did reach out to the organizer and she thought it would be well received, so.
Like their last day it's like their last day on their trip and they have a towel now to wipe their face for one day.
That's a whole different discussion. But yes, we've had that. Okay, so are we good on the
All right.
plan generally for
Yeah,
Bike
yeah.
Across?
Think of it this way, it's a towel you didn't have to pedal all the way across the state. And I bet you by the time you get to the end, you're glad for every pound you didn't have to.
Yes.
So, okay, so we're good on that. Farmer's Market, we're good. Memory Lane, we're good. Go ahead, Casey.
Sorry, the other new request was from the city of Rantoul. They are trying to get their 4th of July celebration started again. And they just asked for any amount, or said any amount would be greatly appreciated, helping them get this event back off the ground. We recommended giving $400, which is what we give to Lane for their fair, out of TGT sponsorships.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
They did drop it. Of course, I think part of it was COVID. Part of it was some of the board members backed away from it. And we have pretty well mostly a new board now, and they're all in favor of moving forward. Plus expanding it back the way it used to be. They did used to have free food and entertainment and so forth, which they did away with a couple of years ago. And they're wanting to go back to that and make it more of a 4th of July, but also make it a community, celebration more than just 4th of July. They they've had in the past a great 4th of July with a good turnout, so.
I've heard good things about it.
That's a
so
pretty,
I'm glad they're doing it.
and I think they're right, what they're saying, they'd be grateful for anything. They're not, expecting a big dollar amount, and it is a good thing, like Lane Ferry, small community, but they do a great job at promoting that and a well of turnout, so it brings a lot of people come home, and I think that's kind of what this is too, it's a lot of people come home to town, for something, and it's a good deal.
Okay, any other discussions? I think we got an understanding, Casey, on these, and then motion would read, make a motion to approve the 2022 TGT sponsorship awards as discussed and allocated.
And is this going to be our only time to see these, this?
Unless you don't want to make a motion and see it again.
Later on.
Right.
Can I just so that we have a clear record, just quickly, it won't take me a minute, just run through what we're recommending, the Sam Smith Memorial Shoot, 500, the Peacemakers Annual Quilt Show, 500, Bike Across Kansas, the county will pay for $1,000 worth of goods. Rantoul 4th of July, 400. 4th of July Horseshoe Tournament, 300. The Ottawa Chautauqua Festival, their fireworks show, 1,000. Richmond Free Fair, 500. Wellsville Historical Society fundraiser, 500. The Lane Fair, 400. The Tractor Show, 1,000. The Car Show, 5,000. Wellsville Days, 500. The Chili Cook-Off, 100. And the Veterans Day Parade, 1,000. And those are all pretty commensurate with what was requested. And so a motion would be to
And the
approve
Rantoul
those.
deal. And the Rantoul.
Did I not say the Rantoul?
Yeah.
Okay, got them all.
A motion would be to just approve those.
Ask when we do this if we can get an updated one of these.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would make a motion to approve the list as just recommended.
Okay, we got a motion? Have a second? Second. Okay, Janet.
Commissioner Waymire?
Yes.
Commissioner Stottlemyre?
Yeah.
Commissioner Harris?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Chair Dunn.
Yes. Okay, we're ready for staff reports, so Derek, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, just real quick. Tomorrow, we're going to have our employee appreciation lunch. Hope to see you all there, and certainly we'll, have some comments at that luncheon, but that is tomorrow at 11:30 is when we're starting that.
Offices will be closed from 11 to 1:30, so we'll start.
Yeah, and we were able to, because I know we've gotten inquiries on this, the only real expense associated with employee appreciation, or the lion's share, was the meal that we're having catered, but we were able to pay for that with a wellness grant. And so, again, there's not, appreciable ad valorem dollars going to this. Just a nice way to recognize our people, and these are the types of things that we believe help aid in retention, which of course then, will save us money in the long
Are
run.
we doing it here?
Celebration
Oh,
Hall.
good. I was like, that's a lot of people in this room. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and what do we have in terms of RSVPs? And we believe that, given the vacancies we have, we only have 195, 200 employees right now. So to have 160, that's
Awesome.
awesome. That says a lot.
30 of them may have worked the night before, so.
Well, yeah,
I
and-
mean,
and
some
yeah,
of them are shifts.
We
Yeah.
have some of them that are literally on shift, so we're happy with that number. But that's all I have, so thanks, Roy.
Okay, that'd be a real nice event. Let's see here. Kenneth, do you have anything else? Case, do you have anything else? Okay.
let you know that we have gotten the volunteers moved into the conference room at the visitor center, and I have actually heard nothing but good things from the volunteers that I have talked to. I've heard that they were skeptical. Obviously, change is hard, but it's nice and cozy, and of course, I haven't talked to all of them, but a couple that I've seen out there and talked to, we're happy with it. So it's off to a good start.
Moving forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Dan, you want
I don't have anything.
to,
I
Paul?
think a deal, you gotta do special training this year for your election officers. They have to do some special classes.
We always have an annual training. We're state mandated to go to training with the Secretary of State's office once a year, and we do that at our May conference. That's why I put a real focus on not only myself attending that, but taking one other person with me so that someone else in my office gets that training. That's really important. But they are starting this year a certification course for election officials. So we can't all do elections the same way just because our sizes are very different. You know, when you compare Johnson County with 500,000 registered voters to my 19,000 registered voters, and then we have, you know, some western Kansas counties that maybe have less than 1,000 registered voters. So everybody has to do it differently, but we want to have some uniformities. And so the Clerks Association and the Secretary of State's office have been working together to try to come up with something that we could do to have some uniformity in how we do elections. And so Scott Schwab, our current Secretary of State, is setting up some training opportunities, and the legislature has passed that to make sure that that happens every year and that all of the county clerks have a certification in elections. So it is something new we're doing, and we hope that it really helps, although there is a lot of uncertainty around elections, just some different bills that are still in front of the legislature and being considered right now, and some different things that are happening nationally with elections. So I always welcome you guys to ask questions about elections, and any of our citizens to ask questions about elections. And I'll do my very best to give you the best answer, the most straightforward answer. We are still trying to make some changes surrounding our drop boxes that we have. You'll remember we have the one in front of the courthouse that we put in during COVID for the presidential election. We had previously just been kind of sharing the treasurer's drop box, and with the increased volume of people wanting to vote a different way, not in person, we needed to increase the size, so we got a bigger box out front. And then I have an additional box that we placed out in Wellsville that we picked up after the election and brought back to the courthouse, so it doesn't stay out there all the time. But we're hoping to be able to put that back out again. But the legislature may prevent that from happening. So I really hope that we can continue to serve Wellsville, but if the legislature passes the Dropbox law that they are considering right now, I would no longer be able to consider a Dropbox for Wellsville. So, and we do have some pretty stringent requirements around that Dropbox out in Wellsville. Having two people of different parties go out and pick up those ballots and log those ballots, and it has to be done every day. So, I mean, we took some really good measures to make sure that everything was consistent in manning that drop box out there, but that may not be enough for the legislature, so.
Now behind you, reminded me, where are we in the process of redistricting?
It's still in court. We've been trying to watch that, and we are starting to have our statewide trainings for getting all of our maps updated so that we'll be ready for filing deadlines. So, but they're still in court, so we can't change any maps until that's
Purgatory.
finalized. So, we,
They
it
had some
doesn't,
arguments though, didn't they? They should be, hopefully sometime this week at least yay. But if it's nay, then they're starting all over again.
Yeah, last time this happened, it's my understanding that they had to extend the filing deadline, which there is some provision for that if it gets too close to the filing deadline to still allow people to file once they've redistricted. So we're hoping that it gets done here in the next week or so, because again, we're coming up against, well, you guys' conference is coming up, and then the clerk's conference will be the first week of May, and we are state mandated to go to that conference to get our training that we have to have. So, I mean, that's really putting a crunch on the time that we have to get all the lines redrawn, and it's a lot of work in our statewide election system to get all of those districts updated.
Weren't we waiting for them to draw their lines before we looked at our commission districts
Yep.
to make sure that they
I-
don't need adjusted yet?
I really don't think that we will have a chance to do that this year by the time they get that done.
Yeah.
So I think it's reasonable to, just get it done next year at the beginning of the year when we normally would review it anyways, so.
Yeah, at our reorgan, yep.
If they change the state deadline, does that change if it's, will that only change for the state offices, or will that also extend for county offices?
I don't know the answer to that right now.
Better go ahead and file.
We have a conference call every week with the Secretary of State's office, so they can keep us up to date on not only the litigation surrounding this, but there's a couple of other election items that are being litigated right now. And so we have a statewide call every week to make sure that we're staying up to date on those things, and that we can get these questions answered, like your question, like, does the filing deadline move back for everybody, or does it just move back for state offices? That's our opportunity to ask those questions, and collectively as a group hear the answer, and not each one of us, 105 of us, call the Secretary of State's office and ask our questions. So
Okay,
thanks for asking, Don.
Thanks, Janet. It'll be interesting election season. Okay, Paul, you have something for us?
Morning, Commissioners. It's been a busy week, good week. Monday, we had in town the investor and kind of the manager for a potential daycare center to locate here in Ottawa. Met with the city, had some nice discussions there. And then Monday evening, in partnership with the Extension Office and ECAN and Child Care Aware, we hosted here a community event on child care. And we had a good representation of child care providers, parents, the investor, and those folks were here, and they've even brought down their operator that runs their operation up in Gardner. And so we had a really good discussion, really good meeting, and I think there'll be some good synergies coming out of that as we kind of help the child care providers kind of organize a little bit together. There's power in numbers. So I'm excited about that. I believe we potentially got 2 new applicants for child care providers out of that meeting in Ottawa as well. So that was a great outcome. So we'll continue to work. That's a big issue. I've had multiple meetings with various companies, and they're looking at what they might be able to do as far as provide a benefit for child care in some form or fashion for their employees. So really raising that conversation and starting to get some traction. So I'm excited about that. Yesterday, I had another meeting down at City Hall with another potential developer. This is more commercial development, so not industry, but been working with him for 6 to 9 months and had a really good meeting and continue to work on those projects. You never know if they'll come to fruition, but they don't if you don't have these contacts and meetings. And then today, there's another meeting at City Hall with another potential developer that's looking at maybe something out at Proximity Park. So been a good week for those types of activities and meetings. We also submitted on 2 projects that we received from Commerce for Proximity Park. And so we'll wait to see how those go and what we hear back. But it's good to have that activity and promotion of Proximity Park. And then real exciting news is been working on trying to get the gas line out to Proximity Park because we're not shovel-ready, which is pretty important. From timelines are getting shorter and shorter for new industry. And so the city of Ottawa did a great job. They submitted a base grant, included in that the funding to get the gas pipeline out to Proximity Park, and they have been approved for a base grant to do that and some other infrastructure work for the city, which some of that other work will also benefit Proximity Park. So really want to tip my hat to Richard Neinstadt and Melanie Landis and Dennis Tharp, because they did the yeoman's work on that grant. As far as I know, that's the only grant that was approved in Franklin County. I had several local people that applied and they didn't get it, and I checked with Wellsville and they are not aware that anything was awarded in their community. So doesn't surprise me. They indicated they would spread those out around the state. So this will be a big one that the city of Ottawa has received, and I'll let them talk more specifics and share that news, but just want you to know, great progress for Proximity Park to get that gas line out there. That'll make a big difference. And it'll open up that corridor a little bit more with the gas capability to tap in along the way. So it's good for our community. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, and I would add just briefly to that, you will recall that the county did not submit its own base grant application because we wanted to support the cities, given that we're partners in Proximity Park. And so we feel like this is a win for us as well, because obviously, you know, the development of Proximity Park is crucial for us. And so, yeah, we're excited about it. I think this is something that we've heard about from time to time when we've tried to court industries, and I know Paul's been working hard, so on the gas line. So the fact that we're presumably going to be able to knock it out with state grant funding, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It also includes the new water tower out that direction too.
Yeah, new water tower, and I think it's important for the public to know that there's no local tax for that. That's a grant from the federal government funneled through the state. So it's part of this COVID and economic funding. So we'll get that infrastructure put in, and it won't be any local tax impact at all. So that's important to know.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Paul.
Thank
for
you.
the update. Dustin, do you have anything for us? No, sir. Okay. Okay, Commissioner's report, Don?
Yeah, I attended the Wellsville Chamber meeting yesterday. One of the main topics there was they involved their Future Leaders Association up there big with the chamber. I mean, they're a big part of that. They attend every meeting, updates, reports. And they gave their update yesterday. They actually attended the state conference, and 94 schools that have those organizations. Wellsville is actually the largest contingency group of any school, and that takes in all 5A schools, 6A schools, 4A schools. There are 3A schools. They actually have 107 members in their future, and they actually, out of that 107, 25 of them are moving on to the national competition in, I believe, Chicago. And so they had 25 and several state first place finishers, I think 3 or 4, the first in the state, and then 25 other people moving on to the national. So, and that's something that Chamber does put money towards time to time, and this will be one of them, helping them fund their trip up there. I know it's kind of a good deal. The qualifications, one of them is they have to raise a certain amount of money. That's part of the qualification to go. I mean, they have to raise it on their own, you know. So that's a good deal that they're, you know, that's something they need to do. You can't depend on somebody carrying the whole load for you, and so that's part of what they train them. And I know Casey Lytle, was there, and he was even one of the judges out there, one of the gold sponsors, his bank, and he bragged about how good it was. And the next thing he bragged about was the putting together of the agenda out at the school we had for all of our business, future and the business. He bragged on that, how good that went, and how much it promoted future happenings and people to participate in that more. So I know he bragged on that a lot. And he also filled in the chamber of the meeting that took place with economic development in Franklin County and with Paul and Casey basically, and bragged about how good situations are now between the county and the city of Wellsville and the economic development as a whole throughout the whole county. So I thought that was a really good response on his part that the community up there appreciates what the county and what economic development is doing for everybody, including more up there. So that's all I got.
I have nothing to add, Brian. Colton, do you have anything to add?
I'm kind of a week behind. A couple weeks ago, I went to the hospital board, their monthly meeting, and they didn't have a lot of new information, but they are continuing to do quite a bit of remodeling at the hospital. Hopefully to get a tour, maybe some of that next month. And maybe this was discussed last week, but at the chamber banquet, I just wanted to just add my congratulations to Dr. Bud Ransom, who was presented the Dr. Russell Kreitz Award, or the Russell Kreitz Award, not the doctor, anyway. He served as a physician for 40 years, but this award really was to just recognize him as our chief medical officer and his leadership through the pandemic. And he had to make some decisions that maybe were not popular, but he did them as well as he could to keep our community well and safe as can be through an unprecedented time. So I just wanted to add my congratulations to him. They are still in the middle of their annual auction fundraiser. It is online, and so if you're looking for something, maybe a unique gift and to support the chamber, it runs online through tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, I believe. The city of Ottawa, I did listen to some of their meetings. They did seat their new commissioners at Clayton. And during one of their meetings, their planning and zoning director gave an update of some of the projects that are going on in Ottawa. And there really is a lot of things going on, including one that I was kind of surprised at, that one of the existing hotels is going to be turned into apartment units, like 46 of them or something like that. So I'm just like, what an opportunity to get some needed housing for maybe small units, but something that's definitely needed in this community. So, there are exciting things going on, not only in Franklin County, but in Ottawa as well. And then last night, I did go to the United Way meeting. It was probably their largest meeting of the year because they actually go through and kind of like we do our community partners, they talk about each of the different agencies that they are going to promote or help this year. It's a 2-year cycle, so this is the second year, but basically last year when they set the cycle, they were talking about mentoring, so programs that actually are mentoring people. And so they had a couple-hour meeting yesterday. Some of the partners came in and they discussed all that. So anyway, just where the future of United Way is going. Again, COVID has hit them as well as everybody else as far as being able to get out into the companies, but it was a good meeting, and that's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. I just went to Chamber Coffee Friday for Key Apparel. They have home office in Fort Scott, and they just have all kinds of different, from construction apparel to, sportswear and that sort of thing. I don't have anything else, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So move. Second. Okay, we're adjourned. See you.